Hello out there, everyone. I, of course, am the Dance of Life dancer. And several months ago, I told you about an experience that I had in 2009 called 7 Days in Hell. And I've been researching it all this time, and now I'm ready to start reading from my actual experience. And I've shared this with a number of people. First, let me quote for you from the Bible itself. Because this happened in 2009 when I was in the hospital. And it happened in 2009. To this date, I can't explain what it is that happened, but I took a very, very unusual, frightening trip into hell. Into hell itself. And they say in the Bible, and it says in the Bible, when you reach hell, it's just like a prison. You'll be in a cell. You'll be in a place. You'll be locked in a room. You'll be locked in a cell, which this all proves it. Well, let me share you from this experience, my friend. Like I said, I've had people say that, some people say that this did happen. I had some people say that it did not happen. But let me tell you something, my friend. It did happen. It was real. This is real as you're standing there right now. And it's called 7 Days in Hell. Like I said, something happened to me in 2009, December the 22nd, 2009. And I literally spent 7 days in the bowels of hell. And here, my friend, here is my story as I start. Remember, it quotes in the Bible that you will be, and I have the answers for you right here. It quotes in the Bible that you will be in a cell. You will be in a prison cell when you go to jail, when you go to hell. Well, don't tell me what. Let me read this to you, because this is going to be about a 5 to 8 part series, because I can't read this whole book to you in one experience. So here we go. So not to waste any more time. 7 Days in Hell. My experience began on December the 30th, 2009, in St. Clair County, when I was placed in an isolated green cell number 6. To this day, I can never explain it. I shook at the thought of what really happened. Everything I write is an account of a true happening, as I experienced it for 7 days. I was in this green cell for 7 days before this happened. My experience began sometime in the night. I was given nightly medications, 8 p.m. Only hours before this, I realized I had a serious infection, a urinary tract infection. I could not pee or use the bathroom. I got terrified. I knew no one would help me. I tried to use the bathroom, but to no avail. I could not go. So I began panic, screaming out loud. I was in an extremely upset condition. I beat on the steel door, screaming out loud in the night for hours, because I knew if I didn't get help, I'd die. Or get seriously infected and I'd be very sick, which I was. Finally, I got taken to the nurse, the doctor, and as if things were bad enough, I could not pee for the nurse. I screamed out loud, cried. I finally did pee in my cell in the cup the nurse gave me. Hours later, I was given antibiotics along with 4 other medications. Then all hell, twisted up, suddenly broke loose. Everything went out of control. Things were at the tip of bad. That was only the beginning. I do not recall the hour or the time this began, but it began before all of this, when I was in the hospital. Before I was transported to this place I'm talking to you about right now. Shortly after I took my 5 pills, hour or so, I was laying down in my cell bed. I heard inmates on all sides of me. All of a sudden, they read an article about me in a newspaper. At least it seemed as if they were. I started screaming and yelling and beating on the metal walls. They accused me of murder and many crimes and horrors I never heard of, let alone did. They were screaming at me on all 4 sides, tormentors, demons. This lasted for many hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. I kept beating on all four sides of the walls. Things were falling on the floor. The tormentors, the screams of the accusing never stopped. The demons never stopped. I was accused of horrors I'd never done, crimes I'd never dreamed of, let alone done, or even heard of. They told me to kill myself. Hang yourself, they said. I beat my head on the walls, my feet, my body, and my fists. I tore up the room, and I broke the big iron bed. I was unable to stop screaming as the voices out of the rooms, out of the cells, somewhere on the other side. The tormentors, the inmates would not stop. They called me illegal transgender. Said I was a murderer. etc., all kinds of made up stuff I'd never heard of. It was in the last minutes of that night, when I got serious about what the inmates told me to do. They were screaming on the other side of the room, on the side of the cell, for me to hang myself. Hang yourself, Susan, over and over. The demons said, hang yourself. The demons kept saying, hang yourself, over and over. The next moments in time, to this day, are unclear to me, but I proceeded with tears in my eyes, because I thought I didn't know where I was at, to grab my sheet off my cell bed, because I didn't know where I was at. I slowly, 6 times, tied one of the ends to my neck and crawled up on the cell door bars, and I tied the other end to the top bar across the top of the door. I stood there with tears running down my eyes. I knew my life was over. I knew it was over anyway, and I'd never get out of there because I didn't even know where I was. I stepped off the bars. The next moments are frozen in time now, even now. When I woke up, I was no longer in the green cell, but I was alone in a large cell with dark gray, yellow bricks, with a steel metal, uncolored, blue, white, green, and gray door. I was unable to move. Yeah, I was very weak. I looked around. The walls were brick stone of color. I could see through the holes in the front door. I lay there in utter shock. I said to myself, so where am I? I was so weak and dazed, I realized something was very wrong. I was hearing sounds, screams, horrors, crying, yelling, calling out my name, Susan, over and over. I heard sirens, strange sounds. I knew not what they were. I screamed out loud over and over for help. For anyone, I cried. I wailed out loud as I could. No one answered me. All of a sudden, I felt the big cell, 8 feet by 14 feet at least, shift like an elevator would. My God, I thought, what is this? And the entire room was going down. And as the cell was going down like an elevator, it appeared to begin hotter and hotter. So amazingly hot, it was beyond what anyone could live through. I beat on the wall, screamed out loud for help. No one answered. No one answered. I thought the police, the jailers, whoever I was, had burned me alive, or I was tormented somehow, somewhere. The sounds I heard were beyond anything any human could make. Sounds of agonies, laughing out loud, many thousands of voices, saying and screaming different things. I realized in pure terror that something was out of place. Something was not normal. This could not be real, can it? As I smelled the rotten smells, the putrid smells of rotten eggs, flesh, and it was so sickening, I got sick in my stomach over and over. As I looked up at as the red flame appeared in the distance, I realized in mortal frozen terror, my God, I'm in hell. And you should know how I felt. I cannot explain how I felt when I made that realization. I felt such a terror, such a loss, such a separation. I felt such a terror at what I had experienced. I knew I'd never ever get out of here. Forever. 1,000 1,000 years came into mind. I knew nothing. Nothing I did or said screaming would make any difference or help me in any way. I felt such a stomach-wrenching separation from God and from all life. I realized I was a sinner on my way to eternal hell. My entire body froze up with such intense, gripping fear it would give anyone a heart attack or would kill them at once. Somehow, here the total terror was blocked, and I didn't experience the full experience. As I saw the flames getting closer, as I heard the walls and the screams of tens and thousands of people in mere agony, and the whole time I heard that, the whole time, oh my God, the whole time, I realized I'd never see my friends no more. I'd never ever go home. I'd never dance again. I'd never ever again be Susan or have any life. I began to wail in a moment of tear, insanity, horror, because, trust me, it is insanity where that is. As I realized I'd be here forever. How long had I been here? Days, years, centuries? Is my home long gone? The place I lived when I was a kid, the place I live now? By now I have long since been forgotten, maybe. My mind is in an unimaginable reality of horror as I heard the tormentors, the demons, the terror on the other side of the dark walls calling out my name over and over again. Susan, come here, Susan, come here. Oh my God, the worst dry, I could not even talk right. My throat was so dry. I could not open my mouth. I was totally naked. The cell continued its downward trip into hell like an elevator. I could see intense smoke rising in the black, darkened air. And the rotten, putrid smells, I can't even begin to explain, like thousands of times worse than a toxic dump. I could smell brimstone, charred, burned flesh, rotten stuff, so toxic I was vomiting blood, and I was on the floor, so weak in the cell, I could not get up at all. It seemed there was no oxygen in the air. I was choking to death, yet I couldn't die. The worst realization I could ever realize was I could see this place was totally dead. There was no life here. Nothing at all. None. There was no life there. No food, no plants, no birds, no rest, no comfort, not even for a second. Thoughts overwhelming come to my mind of utter total hopelessness and insanity. It was boiling in heat as tears of terror filled my eyes, as I realized, remembering the wonderful life that I had and now lost it forever. Hopeless despair. As I looked out from my cell door, as I was going down into the barren, charred, covered cavern, everything I wanted and ever cared about is lost forever. Gone. No more dance of life, no more life at all, no more work, no home, no rest, no goals, no others here to reach out to, no wisdom. I screamed out in utter terror for one person to talk to, for one help. No, my voice echoed into the emptiness of the dark flames. As I began to see there was no life, everything was dead. Everything was dead. No one, no God to reach out to. God was not there. I was totally screaming out loud, begging and to talk to God. As I was screaming out loud to God, help me. But no answer, no help, no nothing. No screams of thousands of people, endless screaming. I realized I was forever cut off from my life, from life of any kind, from the world, from God. My God, I screamed out loud. In my mind, hell is a real place. I can't believe it. My God, it is a real place, I said. I am dead. I was dead. In shocking heart attack terror, I realized I must have died. I must have killed myself. Something must have happened to me. I hung myself in a green cell. Number 6, no more comfort of any kind. And now my purpose, as well as the purpose, is nothing but uselessness, wasteland of what was once life. beauty once humankind